Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order. I think we have an Ag Service Board motion maybe to deal with. Councillor Christman, please.
Reeve Dirksen, I would like to speak to Council about a family in Division 6. Their names are Gary and Sheila Evans. They have 3 generations living on the farm and ranch. Their property butts up to the Bazzano Dam and goes east towards Latham. The husband, Gary, he has taken over the farming practice and ranching from his dad, so it's actually 4 generations on the soil. And they have grandchildren who live on the soil as well. Sheila is a previous councillor for the County of Newell. She gives back to the community whenever and wherever she can. She used to be on the FCSS board in Bazzano, and I know she's still presently active on the Bazzano Ag Society. So for these reasons and more, I would like to propose to Council that we nominate Gary and Sheila Evans for the farm family for the Calgary Stampede this year. And I would make that into a motion.
Okay, motion to nominate the Gary and Sheila Evans family for the Calgary Stampede Farm Family Award. Any questions or comments with regard to that? Certainly worthy recipients, and all in favor that we nominate them to the Farm Family Award, please indicate. Okay. That's carried. Thank you very much. And congratulations to the Evans family. We look forward to that being processed. Todd will move forward with that. Matt, please.
Just to go to bat for Todd here, I think he also wanted Council to identify a councillor to attend the awards banquet on behalf of the County of Newell Ag Service Board at the Stampede with the Evans.
Okay, right. Councillor Johnson, please.
There may not be that banquet. This past year there was no banquet and no breakfast because of the changes. So that may not be necessary. So just as a point of reference.
It may not be, but we should probably still deal with that in case. I mean, that will be the case. Councillor Unner, please.
Yeah, I would suggest that the councillor from the division attends. That would be you, Kelly.
I would agree.
Do you need a nomination for that? I mean, a motion for that, I should say.
I don't know that we do. I think that's yeah, sure. I think that's a good pattern, and we'll take a motion to.
Sure. I'll make that motion.
Okay, that the councillor, in this case, Councillor Christman from Division 6, attend with the family to the public event at the Calgary Stampede. All in favor of that, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, I will refer us to item 9.2, the lease arrangement for the former Village of Tilley office building. I'll call on Lane, Director of Corporate Services, to introduce that, and I know that we have representation here from the group in Tilley, so go ahead, Lane.
Thank you. We do have a group that is here today from the Tilley Community Action Team Society. The acronym is Tilley CATS. I would maybe invite them to take their spot at the table there because they are going to be invited to participate in the discussion here. When the Village of Tilley dissolved in 2013, the county acquired all of the assets and liabilities of the former Village of Tilley. One of the assets that we acquired was the administration building that also served as the post office for the village of Tilley at that time. We have since then attempted to sell the building, and after a number of years of it remaining vacant, entered into an arrangement with the Tilley Community Action Team Society, where they were proposing to make use of that vacant facility for community mercantile facility. We've actually had two different leases, one-year lease agreements that have been put in place. The first one was renewed. It has since expired as well, and we're at a point now where we need to make a decision as to whether we're going to continue with a similar arrangement for the use of that space. The original lease agreement was set up such that the county was going to continue to cover the cost, the base cost of looking after that facility, and the Community Action Team Society was going to cover the additional incremental costs with it being in an occupied state. We have a number of facilities that the county owns that are leased to other community groups throughout the county. And in each of those cases, the community groups that operate those facilities do so at full cost to those organizations, and the county doesn't subsidize those groups for the use of those facilities in any way, shape, or form. There's certainly extenuating circumstances in this case, and we feel that it's appropriate to consider carrying on with their occupancy of the building and need to come to agreement on some terms that work for them and for the county for the continued use of that space. One of the things that I think needs to be fully understood and disclosed at all times throughout the discussion today is that the number one priority is the sale of the building. And if a sale happens, then of course the lease would have to be discontinued, and we would need to move ahead with the sale of the structure. But until that occurs, it's in our best interest to see that the building is occupied and use is being made of it. What I would encourage council to do is to consider what it would be an appropriate arrangement for that use that is being made of the facility to continue. And I think that the group would be able to walk us through some of the things that they have done with the structure and what kind of benefit that is providing to those that are participating in the use of the space there. I would suggest maybe just taking care of some introductions of the group, and then they could walk us through what is happening with the building at the current time.
Thank you, Lane. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Welcome here this afternoon. I think we'll begin by introducing ourselves and then have you introduce yourselves and talk a bit about the project, if you would. Neil, you want to begin, please? Neil Johnson, Division 10.
Amanda Philpott, Division 8.
Good afternoon, Ellen Unra, and I represent the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, good afternoon. Greg Screever, Lake No Resort and Castles.
Kelly Chrisman, Division 6, the west side.
Arno Dirksen, Division 9, the gym area.
Matt Fensky, County Administrator.
Holly Johnson, Scandia, Rainier and Bow City.
Good afternoon, ladies. Good to see you.
Good afternoon. Dan Short, Division 1.
Hi, Lynette Kopp, Division 3.
Hi, Debbie Ackerley, President of our CATS group.
Hi, Shirley Wester, Treasurer of our CATS group.
Jane Marsh, Secretary of our CATS group.
Good. Thank you. Go ahead. Welcome here this afternoon.
Thanks. Yeah, we've always been under the understanding that when you have a sale for the building, that
that we would be done, and we have no issues or problems with that. We've just been trying to run it to bring people to our community, offer something, you know, that attracts people to our community, and not to have an empty building sitting on our main street. And so that's what we've been working towards, and we are a volunteer group. So I'm not sure how much information you have on the operation itself, the hours and that type of thing, but we are there 3 days a week, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And we have vendors that come in, and we are up and down with our vendors, of course. But we've now been going on our 3rd year, and we feel that we've been doing not too bad. It's slowly building, and of course, we've been through COVID like everyone else and dealing with that as well. That's kind of where we're at, and so if you have any questions for us, we're more than willing to.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any questions from council? We do have the presentation with the pictures and that kind of thing. It looks good.
Okay.
Councillor Johnson, please.
I'm just not clear from information exactly what you guys have been paying. I know it's been difficult for you, but I have the $1 in the rental, and then what are you paying in addition to that?
And that becomes the nub of the situation. We're a nonprofit group, so that we operate solely on volunteer steam, and on paper, we are 6 members strong, but the caveat to that is really less. One of our ladies is a young mother with 5 children. 2 of the people work three of the people work. So, and one of the people only comes once every 2 months. So we're actually working at about 3 people, 3.5 people at all times. And with that, we are quite proud of what we've done. I know I'm not quite answering your question, but I'm going to get there. It's sort of an Edith Bunker roundabout the thing. We have been able to host lots of events out of even in the pandemic, we have done a wagon ride for the Christmas lights with hot chocolate, and we do that out of our store. So having that little store is sort of our central dispatch that allows us to do other things. We're also, our school just became rebuilt, and lo and behold, there's no storage. And so other agencies are coming to us to store things in the garage. To your question, Holly, specifically, we only pay $1 in rent a year, for which we are eternally grateful to you all. Thank you so much. It's been a real blessing to our town. Where we're starting to have a bit of problems is that we're not taking in a lot of income. Our income was about $10,700. With that, we're having to pay part of the utilities, which we appreciate that the county carried us and paid the maintenance part of what you normally would pay to just keep the building operational. And so we were to pay the additional. And now it's a normal expectation that we would take all that over. Given that we're operating on such a shoestring, that becomes somewhat of a difficulty to us, particularly when we're anticipating through common conditions that utility bill is going to really soar. So what we're doing is we're coming sort of hat in hand saying, could you continue to split the utilities with us? Is there any kind of break that you can give us? Because we, at this point, can't see how we can expand. We've got between 27 and 32 vendors at all times, but the rent for 3 months for people would be like $75. So therefore, we're still looking at like this $10,700 for our annual income, but we need to pay internet advertising, signs, supplies, all those sorts of things. So given that there's only about 3.5 of us that are working at most times, and if we're doing that without much back. It comes, the question is, do we want to continue? Should we continue? We don't want to, insofar as we think it's that's my phone, by the way. I thought I put it on silent. I'm so sorry. That's our dilemma, and that's why we have delayed signing the thing. We do appreciate so much what you've done for us already. We couldn't have done it without you. But because we're small and we have few resources, we're kind of coming hand in hand saying, can you help?
Your letter referred to rec funding. So are you getting some rec funding right now? And what amount is that? And is that done through your Tilley group?
Through our CATS group, we get $12,700 a year. We also have a number of other projects in the community. We've done re-signing. If you come to Tilley, you'll see metal signs on the store.
The highway.
Yeah, we keep up with 2 parks. We do street decorations. We host handmade market that's well attended. Help me, ladies.
Cats chat.
We do a CATS chat.
How much of that rec funding have you put towards Spike and Spur, like just in terms of?
None.
Oh, okay.
We tried to run them.
So you're saying at this point you're getting the $1 from the county, you're paying $1 for the rental, and then you are paying the entire portion from what would be our base cost if it was vacant to what you are paying. You pay the difference, and that's what the arrangement has been for the last 2 years. That's okay. Thank you.
Dina, please.
So this coffee cup, I got at Spike and Spur. I was saying at lunch, it's my favorite place to shop. My question is, because I noticed pre-Christmas, there seems to be a lot more places opening up in the county similar to what you guys are selling. Have you noticed in the 3 years, is there an increase in traffic in sales?
Yes, definitely. We have been increasing from our initial start, yes.
Also, if I might just pat ourselves on the back, we won the best rural business with the Brook Chamber of Commerce, for which we are extremely pleased and grateful to whoever nominated us. And we're also nominated in the tourist category. So we're pretty proud of that.
Thank you, Adina. And
Sorry,
congratulations.
Yeah, great job. So one of our options, it mentions the Brooks Region Economic Development and Tourism. You guys ever looked into that?
Go ahead, Shirley.
Okay, the list that was sent out to us, is that with all the digital service squad and the business beautification, is that the one-year business development opportunities that we were sent?
I'm looking at something so they could help you with marketing and promotions, stuff like that.
We have, well, we've all looked through that, but a lot of that doesn't apply to us. Like one of them is asked to get up to $10,000 grant to increase the, to improve the building. And we feel like, I mean, a grant and an $8,000 interest-free loan, but we don't feel like, you know, as a small group, we want to work to better a building that doesn't even belong to us, that could be, you know, taken back at any time, and we are stuck with the loan because we've improved. But a lot of these don't really apply to us. We do have a website, we do have a Facebook page, we do have an Instagram account, we do have, what else?
Well, we have advertised, put articles in the Brooks Bulletin does a, you know, travel this area. We put articles in there. We've put them in the other Newell Proud. You know, we've used all of those outlets that were available to us.
Councillor Crispin?
Sorry, thank you. Both my questions are related to finances. One, financial statement. Do you have such an item?
Yes.
Yes, and is there a reason why we didn't get to see that, or no? Okay, so I would like to see a financial statement. And then my other question is, it costs money to put on events. So are any events suffering at the cost of paying your utilities?
No, they aren't, because we're using our rec
Events are a
board money.
priority over the rent, in your minds? That's
No, no. We're using our rec board money to fund our events, like you mean for the community events that we put on. In our defense, I'll have to say we have not received a lot of bills from the county. And so we assumed that we weren't going over our, what it would be to be an empty building, as we only enter into the building three times a week. So we assumed that there was months that we never got bills. And we did get a statement sent to us, which was a little hard to understand, but we paid every bill that we received from the county. So it's not that we're not, you know, our intention isn't to pay. That's not. We just assumed because we weren't receiving bills that we hadn't gone over what it would have sat to be empty. You know, because I mean, we're there 3 days a week. We maybe flush the toilets, wash hands, you know, a couple times a day. So are we going over that? You know, garbage pickup, I know that's a set rate. Power, you know, we have the lights on three days a week kind of thing. So, you know, does that answer your question?
I think so, but the financial statement is what I would appreciate a copy of. And it's hard, like you're presenting as two separate entities. You're presenting as a society, and then you're presenting as a business. And
You're confused?
it's hard to reconcile that because I need to see the society statement.
Okay.
Before I can make a decision on a financial break. Because it's under your society. That's what you're operating under.
Okay.
You're calling the mercantile something separate, but
Yeah, we started the Spike and Spur under our CATS group, which we were always a community action team in Tilley prior to doing this. We do use our funding from the rec board for our community events, which we had always done in the past. And we are hoping not to use those funds to operate this other. We would like to be able to operate it on the funds that we are bringing in from the business. Because then it's taking away from the other things that we can do in the community. And therefore, we just feel like it's not worth it then. And that's where we're at. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lynette, please.
Oh, there we go. I just don't totally understand. How do you operate the store? So you have vendors that bring like the mugs in and you sell it for them? You get a portion of it?
No, the way we work is they pay a vendor fee. We don't take any commission from that. They pay the fee as a rental for their shelf, and we pay them everything that they bring in. We work the store, and then at the end of each month, we send out checks for what they've sold.
So then couldn't your vendor fee possibly just be increased a little to cover your utilities?
We feel like our vendors will drop off. In the situation that we are in today, asking them to pay $150 for 3 months already for a full shelf, there's got to be a profit margin for them too. So that's where Jane, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that we feel that since we're only open 3 days a week, that we can't charge what there are other vendors, you know, some in Dutchess, the Salty Mare just opened, and there's one in Redcliffe as well, but they're open 5 or 6 days a week. And since we're only open 3, we think that the rate is comparable for what services that they get.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Holly.
Is there an option, I'm not sure how Tilley Recreation Committee distributes their funds. Would there be an option to look at the Tilley Rec Board to say, can you give some to cats specifically for the spike and spur if the community values it? Would that be an option?
I think if we were to do that, they would just say, we're already giving you $12,000 a year, you take it out of that, would be their consensus.
And that $12,000 isn't set in stone every year. It depends on what else is happening in the community. Like if our arena needs a new, you know, everybody cuts back. We've been able to keep that up for the last couple of years, but at this point, we're not guaranteed that. It's not a guarantee.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Dan, please go ahead.
Are you actually turning a profit right now with the current arrangement?
Yes, we are bringing in some, yeah. Yeah, but I think if you've all got Jane's letter there, if you look at what, you know, we feel like 3 volunteers working for $500 a month and putting in our time and hours. We also sit on other communities in our committees in our community. It's pretty taxing on a few people to not, you know, get something that we can give back as well to our community. And all the money goes back. None of us pull a wage out of there. We're all volunteers.
I think that's the other point. Maybe it just makes me feel good to say it, but that's the other point, that every one of us on the committee are on 2 or 3 other committees in the town. So we really are, you know, fairly tight.
As you know, recruiting volunteers is not always an easy task.
I just lost my train of thought, but first of all, ladies, amazing. If you have any extra time, we always have a place in Rosemary. But anyways, I happened to be there this season, and I was at the, I think it was in the hall that had the big, what was it, the market for the, yeah, it was beautiful, wonderfully done. And we also should remember that we don't want this place empty though, do we? That's going to cost us a lot too. And I still can't remember what my train of thought was. But anyway, thank you ladies for coming.
Go ahead, Matt, please.
I guess this question's for Lane. So utilities, we all know utility costs have increased over time. The initial difference in year 1 was a $1,500 difference for having an occupant in.
Correct. The report that I had provided, $1,478 for unoccupied state, and then it goes up to $3,300 once it was occupied. Yeah, so it's not a significant amount that we're talking about.
Yeah, look, I'm a big proponent of user pay, so I appreciate the conversation we've had about, you know, can the vendors pay more? So I think the conversation has been right, but I think we talk a lot about community building, and I think Spike and Spur is a pretty good example of community building that we get for a pretty cheap investment on the dollar at the county. You know, even if council were to consider the existing arrangement where the Cat Society has, I don't know what the invoices amounts have been, but if the county just continues billing them the historic amount moving forward, I mean, they are at the risk of us giving them the boot once we find a buyer for the place. So I think there's a lot of benefit that the former Village of Tilley gets, having these volunteers putting in the hour and creating a market for vendors there. So in terms of the dollar amount, it's not a a huge touch for us. And, you know, we could have them go back to the rec board, but then the rec board comes back to us, and it's just like, we're paying the utility bills already. Let's streamline that side of it and just, you know, I'd suggest that you give them a pass, bill them what we've billed in previous years, and thank them for their service.
Okay, Phil, thank you. Amanda, please.
I would like to make that motion.
Okay, that we continue as per the
correct.
previous arrangement. Okay, thank you. Question?
Just a question, does cats go to casino and on a rotation basis?
We don't qualify. We've tried and we don't qualify. So, yeah, we've put in an application and we've been denied.
As was indicated, and as I haven't been there personally recently, but, well, no, since, but as per the pictures, certainly the building looks good and looks presentable, and if we're trying to sell it, I suppose we're better off with it being occupied in the way that it is than otherwise. So we have a motion on the floor to continue the arrangement as previously experienced. All in favor of that, please indicate. That's unanimous. So thank you, and we wish you well. And
Thank you.
all the
Thank
best.
you so very much.
Who do I talk to about getting, like, our bills? Wayne? Okay.
Fine.
I'll talk to him.
Okay. We'll move to item 11.5, Councillor payment sheets. So we need a motion of acceptance of Councillor payment sheets. Okay, moved by Councillor Kopp that we accept the Councillor payment sheets. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Then we would move to item number 14.4, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thanks, Matt. Sorry about that. 11.6, request for functions of council. Are there any requests for activities of council? Councillor Christman?
I wondered if anyone besides myself would like to attend the RMA policing meeting at 2 o'clock today, if we're available. And if so, maybe I would make a motion that that be a function of council. We could convene here if we're done our council meeting, is all I was thinking. It's a Zoom meeting.
Right. Okay. Proposal that we
It's on Alberta Police.
Yeah, that's right. The RMA meeting at 2 o'clock. Any discussion about that? All in favor that we include that as a function of council, please indicate. That's carried. For those who choose to attend, right? Yeah. It's an optional thing, but that's understood. Thank you. Any other functions of council? Amanda, please.
Yes, on February 10th, the emerging trends of municipal law. I'm thinking of attending that.
Okay, where is
and
that?
That's in Calgary at the Best West Premium Hotel. And it's from 8:30 till 3:30.
What is the cost of that function?
I actually didn't look at that. I thought it was already a function of council.
Okay.
What is it?
Ariana, you've got some information?
Yes. Emerging trends in municipal law. Well, that's the room rates. Hold on just a sec.
Lynette, please.
Hadn't we already made a motion that everybody can do 2 training things? Like, do we still have to go through this motion to say that her training was accepted, or how does that work?
That's a good question. What's I guess standard practice? We're 80% out of standard practice here. We're still trying to figure that out. So.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. So if you haven't used your two opportunities, that's still open, right?
Okay, and rather broad ranging in terms of, I mean, information gained is education, I guess. So that's good. Does that cover that, Amanda? Are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with that,
Okay,
thank you.
good. Well, Holly, please. That's a good question.
That is a good question. I'll turn it back to council to hash out the parameters. Ariana, do you want to pull up that previous motion or we could maybe circulate that after the meeting? That approved attendance for two events? Because I don't know that we got that prescriptive with the motion.
I'm going to suggest
it was a pretty wide open door.
That be circulated to us as council, and that we have further discussion at a future meeting about that, just to ensure that we understand it in a similar fashion and are comfortable with the standard practice that we create for ourselves. Does that make sense? Neil, please.
Yeah, I totally support the two. I mean, hotel, travel, whatever. Anytime we get our counselors out there, if Amanda wants to go enlighten herself, it helps all the rest of us. And 2 a year is really not that much. That's 20 for all of us. Oh, I agree with that. Like anytime you're out there at one of these, you're going to learn something, you're going to bring it back.
And I think it's entirely reasonable that we reconsider what we think our standard practice should be, given the fact that we're all, or 80%, not all, 80% of us are in our first experience of this, and yeah, information is knowledge, and that's useful for us all, and I think we probably all recognize that that's been helpful in the past. So yeah. I suggest that we revisit that at our next meeting, if that's reasonable. If you, Ariana, if you'd circulate that resolution, and then we can take a look at it.
Sure. I did just circulate the resolution. It says that all councillors be permitted to attend up to 2 elected officials training sessions as a function of council. And they don't have the cost for the Brownlee session available online yet, but I looked up a past one, and I think it's about $350 for the session itself, and then hotel. I think the rates said they were $125 a night.
Okay, thank you. I think, somebody else have a comment, Neil?
Yeah, I think we just leave it the way it is and feel comfortable to take advantage of it. Like what's the problem with it, or could be, as long as we know.
Yeah. Councillor Christman.
I don't mean to muddy the waters here, but I wanted to let you know that on February 6th, Brownlee is hosting an emerging trends in municipal law. And Councillor Unruh and I actually attended that 8 years ago. Not saying that it would be the same, but it's the same title. It's $180 per registrant, and it's in, there's usually one in Calgary and one in Edmonton. So I'm just looking at the Brownlee website, and that's the one. Okay, so it's $180. You said February 10th, so I thought I was looking at the wrong one. Okay, so there you go. It's Emerging Trends in Municipal Law, and it's a legal educational seminar for municipal elected officials and employees for municipalities only. It's very good, Ellen.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
I think if we look at that motion, it allows us for 2 training sessions. Leave it as it is. You get your travel, you get your mileage, you get your hotel, you get the the admission fee to the training session, but it's got to be a training session, not a conference. Conferences and meetings are all, that's different. That's a different setting altogether. I don't think we need to elaborate any more than that. If you get 2 training sessions per year, no questions asked. I suppose it's open to get taken advantage of. Somebody decides they want to go to a training session in Las Vegas for a week. Well, I think that's a little out there, right? But that's not going to happen. So
you come back with money in your pocket. Yeah.
Now everybody wants to go to Vegas for a week. So I think it's pretty straightforward where it is, and just remember that it is a training session. That's the key there.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. I think we basically have close to consensus on the fact that we're good with the way we are right now, but I'd still suggest that we review that, and we can review this further at another meeting if we need to, because there's been some suggestion that maybe we need to do a little bit more or look at it more broadly, and I'm fine with that if that's the wish of some of us. So everybody comfortable with that for now? Okay, good, thank you. Oh, Greg, please.
Sorry, I have one more function at council. I have the Energy Roadshow is going to be coming up this spring sometime. They haven't set a date yet, but they've requested to interview. I put in myself to be interviewed for that, as far as for them to be able to get an idea on what, just a snapshot from some of the economic and political leadership in the county. So I put my name down to be interviewed. It'd take about an hour. So I just wondering if that could be a function of council.
Neil?
Yeah, those are really good to do, but from my past EID experience, we actually had to shut directors down from giving interviews unless you know for sure that you're speaking for the whole council. Because it's good to get out there, but you have to be careful. I trust you.
Okay.
We should maybe go over that policy on that, just like it's kind of important. Yeah, I'm not sure what I could use as an example, but it can get out of control.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is, well, an example. I guess I did an interview with Chat TV on Zoom, I don't know, between Christmas and New Year's, around the motion that we passed regarding Halo. And I had a visit with Matt ahead of time just to make sure I was, had everything up to date. And I think that's a useful thing if we're doing media interviews, for sure, to tag up with someone who may know the spin on things a little more than we did. And I mean, from previous activity with the press, I've always found that to be useful, to have as much background information as you can get. But I think, Neil, you're talking about something a little different than that, even that we have designated spokespeople for certain kinds of activities.
Well, not necessarily, but we have to get their politics in line, and we're not dealing with anything controversial right now, but we could.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Holly, please.
Actually, Blaine was on a Zoom one with Energy Roadshows a little while ago dealing with landowner concerns. So there actually is fairly political because Action Surface Rights is involved with that, because they are not at all concerned about landowner rights. That's all about, they don't think there should be any landowner rights, actually. From what they've said, mostly it's Indigenous lands, it's community owned, and don't worry about, they have very specific agendas. So I would say Energy Future Roadshow is political. And it is not as, I don't know for a fact, but it's not as nothing as it might seem, perhaps. So a lot of things have agendas we don't really realize at the get-go. So I would think whoever does those kinds of things needs to be very educated on that. I certainly am not in the whole scheme of it, but just to be careful, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. We're down to item number 14.4, I believe, right? Or 14.1, pardon me. Brooks Regional Economic Development, that's information. It's in our package for information. I don't think there's anything else on our agenda. I think we've come to the end. If there is a motion to adjourn, I would entertain that. Lynette, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Todd.